What's going on, everyone? I hope everyone's doing good. Um, Overall, I hope everyone's doing good. I'm making this video on Zohran Mandani's uh, fast buses, better service plan. It's not just Zohran; it's also with Governor Kathy Hochul and the MTA. I've supported many of Zoran's policies. I supported a lot of his policies, most of his policies, right? I have agreed with him on a lot, even when other people have not agreed with him. I have agreed with a lot of the things that he's doing. However, in this instance, this is the time. This is going to be a tough video, right? For me, because I have to reconcile my support with him with also being able to criticize and not agree with the way this plan is being implemented, right? Um, the community input will be included after the plan is already in place, right? And that's my biggest disagreement with the New York City Department of Transportation and also the MTA, that they implement stuff without getting public input, getting input from politicians, from elected officials, not for profits, but not the actual riding public and not the workers that actually run the system. It's a big, huge flaw in everything the MTA has always done. And that's why most of the time their projects fail and their projects end up costing more money, end up being a black hole, endless money pit where things don't get implemented right? They bring consultants and outside people to, you know, do surveys, and this is more of the same that they've been doing for a very long time. And my disappointment with Zoran is that he caved to management of the MTA and to Governor Kathy Hochul in the middle of a contract negotiation between the Transport Workers Union 100, Local 100, and management, right? I've had my disagreements with the union, uh, that they've been working with management, that they've been siding with management, that we've been fighting. But for this plan to go into place, there will have to be a huge reorganization in the work rules and in the workers' contract in order for this plan to be successful, which they're in the middle of a negotiation and they're asking for serious concessions for workers to make concessions on the health benefits and are all like expecting way more from the workers with less pay, right? And they're saying it's about overtime. It's not that, it's that workers have to be able to make enough money to survive in the most expensive city in the world, right? And to be able to live here and be able to provide service to the city and to the state, right? So that's the main reason why I oppose the plan. But let's listen to the press conference and I'm going to break it down little by little. This is going to be a tough video for me because I'm going to have to go hard based on the fact that I used to work for the MTA for 6 years. I was a union activist trying to reform the union and also fighting management at all levels and end up losing my job as a result. So I see the dark forces and the evil forces, and I feel like Zoran caved to those evil forces of the governor, and of the MTA management, right? As opposed to the workers. That's my biggest gripe and the biggest problem I have because as democratic socialists, just my personal opinion, we have to improve the material needs of workers and then material needs of uh, people overall, and this is setting workers back, especially since so many workers have been retiring, and there's such a massive shortage of mechanics, of bus operators, of so many people. Listen,
Seats, welcome to a new era for public transit in New York City. Next stop, fast buses, better service, represents a historic partnership to build the fastest, best bus system in our city's history. The plan is
you hear that in the background? Those are MTA workers, union workers protesting this plan, um, fighting against this plan because this plan excluded workers from having input into it, right? And their thing is that they're gonna cut back on overtime. Okay, I understand, but the system still has to run. That's the problem, that the system still has to run. So you're saying you're cutting back on the amount of hours that workers can work, but you're gonna make the system more efficient. So it's gonna be at the back of workers in the end of the day. And we know that, right? We know that rushing or being rushed makes the systems unsafe for everyone, right?
designed to deliver for riders, to give time back to our neighbors, and to make our bus system easier, more reliable, and more comfortable for everyone.
And so a lot of people feel like this is union busting, breaking up the union, like they did with the taxi, where they privatized it and they unionized, and the taxi drivers were not able to unionize. And then Uber came and started charging even more than what the drivers used to charge before because they monopolized the system. So this is happening, but in the public sector. And that's what people don't want, right? Or workers don't want.
And it represents a unique spirit of collaboration in which Albany and City Hall do not hesitate to work together to improve working people's lives.
But the problem is that making a deal with the figurative representatives of the people and not the people themselves does not work. You got to listen to the people and what the people want and what the changes that the people want, not the what people think it is, right?
Because the city has the streets and the state's got the buses, and together we are committed to delivering fast buses and better service for New Yorkers.
But the problem is that these buses don't drive themselves. That's the problem. These buses don't drive themselves. These you could buy as many buses as you want, but if you don't have people to drive them that are trained and ready to go, and it's very strict medical, they have very strict medical requirements, strict drug testing, strict rules for who is allowed to operate a bus. So most people will not qualify to operate a bus. So that's why it's very hard to get people to work this job, and it's long hours and it's grueling work. It's very taxing on the body, on your back and on your knees with the operating a huge bus in a city street with heavy traffic. It's difficult and harder than what people think it is. But they wouldn't
Without
know.
further ado, it is my honor to introduce our mayor, Mayor Mamdani.
So this is Zoran's decision, right? Zoran's coming out and he's speaking about gonna give his arguments for why buses should be run the way they want to be run. And notice how you don't have any union workers behind. You only have the police department, you have every other state agency, management, um, but no union workers. MTA management's
Good
there
morning, everyone.
at all levels.
It is an honor to be here with so many friends, partners, advocates, and community members, transit riders, and public servants. And also an incredible remix of Madonna's 4 Minutes. Thanks to your tireless efforts, we are here in downtown Brooklyn to say something millions of New Yorkers have been waiting to hear. The next stop for New York City is better buses. And I want to acknowledge that we are here.
So some people are saying that union busting, that it's not including the union and the workers in the plan, in the action plan, and it's also not including the community. It was done by think tanks and by a not-for-profit Writers Alliance, elected leaders, and not the actual people and not the actual workers that are out and actually doing what they're supposed to be doing to make the system run more efficiently, right?
Joined by a number of leaders at every level of government. We have our Governor, Kathy Hochul, who is joining us today.
So the governor's there, elected leaders are there, but no mention of workers or union members that are supporting this, right? And that's a big insult for a
Our
lot of
MTA
people.
Chair, Jano Lieber. Our City Council Transportation
See, the city council's there, the state
Chair,
representatives
Sean
are there.
Abreu. As you've heard from our Deputy Mayor for Operations, Julia Curson.
And that's the problem, right, with this whole plan.
Our DOT Commissioner, Mike Flynn. Our NYPD Transportation Chief, Obi. And we have from Riders Alliance, Betsy Plum and Andrea Albayeros Abdullah. And I also want to acknowledge our Borough President of Manhattan, Brad Hoylman Siegel. Council members Alexa Aviles and Amanda Farias. And our Brooklyn Deputy Borough President, Kim Council. Let's give them a round of applause. It is such a pleasure to be here alongside all of them as we come together to make an announcement that speaks to a singular truth that every person who calls our city home knows. In New York City, time is money. And we are going to give New Yorkers some of that time back. 6 minutes to be precise. So to illustrate what 6 minutes.
So, I mean, it's a lot of money being spent just to speed up the buses, like for 6 more minutes, which is okay. 6 minutes, it's good for people to be 6 minutes faster. But the thing is that safety is also very important. The workforce has been aging for a very long time. Many people are retiring or have retired. They haven't been able to replace the workers that have left the system. They haven't been able to replace them at all. And that's the biggest problem. How do you get more workers and then you don't have enough buses? And the new buses that they're buying are having more problems, serious problems that the old buses didn't have when because they were being maintained. They were being built more sturdy and lasted longer at a less cost. So now you're going to get rid of the older buses in order to bring in new advanced technology buses that have been known to have more serious mechanical issues and flaws and even recalls on them. right? Buses take a very long time to be built. The articulated buses are about $2 million. In the MTA, the bus is about $2 million per bus, and they take time to be built. In order to get 100 buses, to get 1,000 buses, takes a very long time, takes years to get that amount of buses in the system.
Minutes saved really means I have decided to keep the rest of my speech to 6 minutes exactly. We're going to use
But you're gonna say
this stopwatch to show that the clock starts now. Now, for decade after decade, the working people of our city who rely on the bus have had their precious time treated with disdain. New York's bus system carries more riders than America's next 4 largest bus systems combined. And those riders commute on the slowest buses in the nation, many of which crawl at an average of 5 miles per hour. Too many New Yorkers walk faster to the bus stop than the bus they finally get on actually travels. Too many lives.
The thing is, faster does not mean safer. That's the biggest issue. That's the dangerous part about it. That just because something's moving faster doesn't mean it's safer, and doesn't mean that um, things can't happen as a result of speeding up the buses too much, right? You can't speed them up too much. You can't drive so fast with a bus because there's limitations to being able to operate them safely in heavy traffic, in a heavy customer center, without causing possible injuries or possible issues, right? So um, and the biggest issue is that if this is happening right in the middle of a contract negotiation where the Metropolitan Transportation Authority is demanding givebacks and for workers to pay more for their health care, for workers to pay more for their retirement, for workers to get a huge pay cut and have their work rules changed to not get paid as much as they were getting paid before. So you expect that workers are going to be doing more for a lot less money? How does that work? How does that work? How are workers going to be expected to do way more for less and work a lot harder, which they're already working hard? It's not easy to fix these buses. Fixing these buses takes a lot of time and skill, and it takes a toll on your body. So working faster, trying to do things faster to cause more injuries on the job and cost more money because where are you going to get all these mechanics? Where are you going to get all these people to um, work on these buses to make sure that they fix? And where are you going to get all these bus operators from? When people don't last long, they train, they quit, they get fired. You're going to have to reform the whole system to make it more nicer to workers. For a worker to be more productive, you got to be able to retain them and keep them and treat them with love and respect so then their productivity can increase. But if you treat them like trash and you're just trying to get rid of them all the time, heavy-handed management, it's not going to work. And the MTA has not given up on this heavy-handed management system of controlling workers to the max, controlling everything, that they cannot have a work-life balance. Not having a work-life balance causes stress and undue sicknesses and undue days of workers being out. So the more you stress them, the more days they're out and the way less the system runs. So this approach to me is not going to work.
Are planned around delays and commutes. Too many communities have demanded better. A devoted 34th Street busway, a redesign of Fordham Road in the Bronx, a rapid bus corridor down Flatbush Avenue. And yet, despite all of the work of so many that are here and even beyond this event, they have found that their voices have been ignored by those who can deliver change. That ends today.
But the
Our
rider
streets
allowance
are
is
public
not
spaces.
for people.
How we design them reflects who we believe they are for. Today, we make a decision that puts working New Yorkers first. Now, I am proud to stand alongside Governor Kathy
But not workers, right? That's the problem. You're gonna put working people first, but not workers. So how are the workers supposed to take care of the working people if they're not taken care of? See, this is where we disagree. Big disagreement, Zoran. Sorry, big disagreement. I have to disagree with you. This plan is gonna cost a lot of money, and it's not gonna get done what you want it to
Local
do.
this morning as we launch our bus action plan, Next Stop. This historic investment will make our buses faster and more reliable for millions of New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. The Department of Transportation will work in partnership with the MTA to transform 50 priority bus routes citywide, some of which are currently the
It's not a good look to be getting protested by union workers, especially a long, strong union that has been swayed away, right? It has had serious problems lately, a lot of corruption, but still the workers don't deserve to be uh, knocked to the ground and treated as pawns in the political system.
slowest in the city, many of which serve neighborhoods with few other transit options, and all of which deserve better. Now, here in Brooklyn, we will deliver the first of 5 rapid bus corridors by 2030 on Flatbush
And I understand his
Avenue.
want to be positive.
Now, Flatbush Avenue is a corridor used by more than 100.
This is when it's too fast of a change in a system that can't handle that change, right? Uh, this is a management mistake. And so you can't do it without the workers. If the workers decide to walk off the job in the middle of a contract, go on strike, even if it's illegal, then I think that's the only option that they have, right? Right? That's the only option that they have because they've been disrespected too long. They've been disregarded too long, the workers. They haven't had increases, very modest increases. They're not making as much money as they should for the labor that they're working, right? For the amount of work that they're putting in.
How you feel as a
So this is
person
taking a
about
person
work
for
balance.
granted.
I
30,000 riders every day, but slowed by some of the city's worst gridlock. The first phase of Flatbush
Yeah.
is already underway and includes center running bus lanes and new bus boarding islands. Future phases of the project include fully separated bus lanes, stations with level boarding, and fast, frequent service guaranteed. Now, Flatbush is only the beginning.
And so they already started putting it into place, but without consulting with the businesses or the community boards or the communities that these are being implemented. And it has shown a reduction in foot traffic, a reduction in vehicular traffic for a lot of these small businesses, which are already struggling in the city. And so I think that there should be input from all these entities before changes were made so drastically, right?
Northern Boulevard in Queens, 116th Street in Manhattan, White Plains Road in the Bronx, Utica and Church Avenues in Brooklyn, Victory Boulevard on Staten Island. These streets and dozens of other routes across the 5 boroughs will receive dedicated rapid service and infrastructure improvements that finally put riders first.
Without consultation with the communities that are being affected, homeowners, small business owners, and community members, that now the whole streets are going to be totally different than what they used to be, right? And that's the problem. You can't bulldoze the community because electeds and everyone else says that they should be bulldozed. That's not how it works, and that's not how it should work.
Part of that means changing how buses stop and start with transit signal priority, queue jumps, and yes, all door boarding.
Which all door boarding is a good thing, but it has shown to lead to more rampant um, fare evasion, more rampant people not paying their fares. And then there's delays because now there's heavy-handed enforcement of the fares where they have scanners that could scan people's phones and scan your card to see if you paid for the bus. So it's not really solving the issues of the system, right? Just aggravating the problems of the system.
These improvements may sound technical, but they deliver change that is anything but. Less waiting, faster trips, and buses that arrive when they're supposed to. We are also making sure that bus lanes stay clear.
Well,
By 2028,
by ticketing cars and ticketing anyone that is near a bus stop. But the problem is that this ticket, the ACE system, the ABLE system, which was the earlier version, was catching people that were parked illegally, right? They were being ticketed. Um, they were being ticketed for even parking legally, and people were upset, and it was almost impossible to fight these tickets, even though uh, people were parked legally, right?
all 50 corridors will have automated camera enforcement because these lanes should do exactly what their name promises. They should be for buses. Now, we are not just improving our bus lanes, we are improving our buses too. The MTA will replace 40% of our aging fleet with 2,500 brand new vehicles. Taken together, these investments will increase speeds along our 50 priority corridors by 20% on average. That means riders will save up to 6 minutes every trip, up to 12 minutes every commute. I'm just going to check. We have 1 minute and 50.
So you're gonna spend billions of dollars just to because the MTA is famous for basically destroying the system, for not paying the contractors the way they're supposed to and cost overruns, serious cost overruns. And the DOT also for doing construction and getting paid. That's a lot of money being pumped into a system that has serious issues and serious problems instead of attacking those systems from within, right?
53 seconds left for me to hit this goal. Now, if you take the bus to work, that adds up fast. Within 6 months, you will have spent 24 fewer hours on the bus. By the time a year rolls around, you'll have saved more than 2 days of commuting time. That means breakfast with your family. It means having the time to argue balls and strikes at your kid's Little League game. It means getting home for bedtime. It means agreeing with your friends that Egypt were robbed yesterday.
The problem is that to rework the schedules and the shifts, the union will have to agree, and the union is not at the table. There's a big, severe fight between the union and management and the MTA and the governor. So how are you going to do this? Unless you bulldoze the workers, bulldoze the rules, the work rules that have been in place to protect workers' safety and workers themselves to make sure that they have adequate breaks and accurate enough sleep and is enough break time to be able to work at maximum capacity.
Above all, it means time returned to New Yorkers who don't have nearly enough of it. And as we do so, we are also ensuring that the time spent on our bus system is a little more pleasant. No longer will the majority of bus stops in New York City be a rusty pole and slab of concrete. That is not good enough.
But the MTA strategy has been to space out the bus stops, right? Make the bus make less stops, 4 blocks away from each other. That saves time, but however, that makes it very uncomfortable for the elderly for the disabled, for those that have impediments of walking or have a disability or in a wheelchair. It makes it a lot harder. 4 blocks is nothing for an able-bodied person or a young person. So for other people, 4 blocks is almost impossible to take a bus that's 4 blocks away from their house instead of 1 block away, half a block away. So that's the issue. That's a big problem too.
At the end of this year, we will install 100 new bus shelters citywide and 300 more by 2031. We will add benches and leaning bars at 875 bus stops each year with seating guaranteed at every single bus stop in the city by 2035. And we will plant more trees around stops to provide shade and protection from the elements.
And trees around bus stops is crazy because it's inclement weather. Trees tilt. Trees could make contact with the branches, could make contact with the bus and cause damage to it. And so that's why it has not been done because of that. The reality that it's very difficult to control nature and control trees, which is good to do, but it's dangerous for buses.
At every stop of this work, the working people who ride our buses every day will shape the decisions that we make. Input from street outreach and community workshops will be incorporated during the design and development phases.
So workshops and community outreach, that means talking to random people in the street and having workshops where people could go and speak to workers and who's recording these workshops, who's writing down, taking notes and putting input and actually listen to the people. So a lot of these workshops, most of the time that I've been to, are performative. They're not really wanting people's input. They just presenting whatever they have and that's it. And not even listening to people, not even taking notes on people's input.
And even after construction is completed, we will continue to solicit feedback to make sure that each project is delivering exactly what we promised. Years from today, when we take measure of whether this plan succeeded, we will calculate it by how many New Yorkers get home earlier, by how many buses arrived when they were supposed to,
Earlier,
by how
on
many
time,
working people got some relief from the
on the backs of the workers. That's the problem. That's gonna be on the backs of workers. Because the faster you move, the more strain it does puts on your body, the more injuries you're gonna have on the job as a result of this. So we got to look at it from the workers' perspective. There's a serious injuries happening already, and they've been pushing people harder to do things faster, and there's been a big increase in injuries, right?
heat and the rain, and by how I can't even speak as fast as the savings that we're going to receive. Because what we're going to see is that New Yorkers will spend 6 fewer minutes on the bus and 6 more minutes living their lives. Because I want a city where Christopher Leon Johnson has enough time to come and yell at a press conference. I don't want him to be stuck on the bus on the way to the press conference. That's the city I want. A city where you can heckle your public officials because the bus is running on time. And our streets should work like the working New Yorkers who use them, quickly and efficiently. With this bus action plan, we are taking a huge step towards a future where our buses run as fast as everything else in this city we love. One where every New Yorker's commute is defined by ease and dignity. Thank you. This is for Christopher. This is for every New Yorker who takes the bus. And this is for everyone who knows that a world-class city deserves world-class buses. Thank you so much.
It's also billions of dollars. Billions of dollars.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, I'd like to introduce our governor, whose leadership and partnership is foundational to this vision.
And so this is the problem, right? It's just putting the horse before the carriage or not doing things backwards, right? You're supposed to listen to the people first, have the input, and then put a plan together, and then implement it, and then tweak it as people are um, uh, uh, are getting into it, right? Where they get stuck is the nuts and bolts of taking people's neighborhoods and trying to destroy them in the favor of something that's piecemeal, that's going to cost billions of dollars, and it's just piecemeal. It's not solving the major issues in the system. The major issue is workers getting injured on the job, workers not being treated correctly, you know, heavy-handed management that causes the system not to run the way it should. And there comes the governor.
Line of what is right. Want to thank Jan Lieber for running an extraordinarily complicated system, but does it in an incredible way. Let's give him a round of applause as well. Betsy Plum, the executive director of the Riders Alliance, and all of you, I thank you so much. You are an important part of us getting.
And the thing is that the Writers Alliance has always been in the pocket of the MTA management. They get grants, they get money, and then they try to make it seem as if it's groundswell of people and they're representing the people, but they're not, right? They're not. They're just a not-for-profit that's funded by the MTA management, MTA.
Congestion pricing over the line. Thank you very much. And we'll continue to stand up to the Trump administration and say, that ain't going anywhere, Mr. President. We're keeping our congestion pricing.
The thing is, they're saying we're standing up. We're standing up by doing as we please, but they're not really standing up. They're standing up for the corporations and for the rich and for the people that are going to get rich off these deals and off of these contracts. And I'm not saying Zoran, but Zoran fell for the Kool-Aid, fell for um, the convincing nature of the governor and the MTA chair and MTA management to say that this is going to be better for the workers in the middle of a contract negotiation. And people are going to get upset with my words, but I got to speak the truth above all.
Because it's 27 million fewer cars on the roads in our city. You're also helping me with the next phase of the 2nd Avenue subway so we can eliminate transit deserts and let people have an opportunity to get to the better paying jobs. Thank you, Riders Alliance, for being with me on that one.
She's not worried about better paying jobs, right? As governor, she's interested in breaking the union. And at this point, I think the only option the union has and the workers have is to walk off the job and shut down the transit system. As illegal as it is, it's like they're being pushed to the edge of not having no other choice but to show their power, and show the MTA, show management, show the city that you don't mess with the workers of transit. And unfortunately, the union is so corrupt, so bad that it's going to be hard to do because they don't have that rapport or they haven't built that relationship with the workers that they should be having. So right now, the workers are being double screwed by not only the MTA, but by the governor and also the city, the state, the management in the middle of a contract negotiation. This is messed up. And this is where I differ with Zoran that they should have done it differently. Um, they should have waited till after the negotiations in the contract, not give management or the governor leverage over the workers, right? This is my issue and my biggest disagreement. As I worked for the MTA for 6 years, I fought against the corruption of the union. I fought against the corruption of the MTA and management, and I saw firsthand how things work. And no one's allowed to speak up. Workers are scared to speak up. Workers are scared to say the truth, and no one should be siding with the MTA management unless the truth is exposed of how workers are treated and how badly workers are treated at the MTA. Once you expose that, then you can speak about how to improve material conditions for the people that work for the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. Then you can implement changes, but with consideration for what the workers' needs are and meet those needs, right? Meet those needs. From a democratic socialist point of view, that's just my personal view, my personal opinion, not necessarily um, how everyone else feels, but a way that I feel about the movement and how it was done, right? How this was done. There was a piece that was written that I'm going to read a little bit of it, and it summarizes a little bit of the criticisms all right, of how some people feel about this situation and many other situations, right? Uh, this is hammerandhope.org. They wrote an article. Uh, how is Zohran Mandani doing? 9 New Yorkers discussed the first 6 months of the Mandani administration. Fad Ahmed, Jasmine Gripper, Marianne Kaba, Chandrani Kumarika, Juanita O. Lewis, Maya Meredith, Astra Taylor, Josie Wells, and Julie Zhu, right? Those are contributors, right? Uh, I propose Mandani's connection to movements will be key. I propose 2 grounds as the basis of an assessment of the mayor's first months in office. First, this is a democratic socialist project, which means that we should judge it by the standards of democratic socialism and not say revolutionary socialism, revolutionary nationalism, or social democracy. A democratic socialist project is about transformative governance but also the growth of robust mass movements that can support and lead a successful socialist project. Second, we should stay grounded in the analysis of the material conditions and a scientific understanding of how to change them. That especially means an understanding of the order of operations. What do we do first? What do we save for later? How much pushing causes something to break and how much is insufficient? We have to strike a balance between not being overly purist and not overly pragmatic. The left needs to recognize that we are weak and underdeveloped. We haven't had to contend with navigating contradictions of governance, of running large organizations or cities, or building large and complex coalitions. There are few relevant blueprints to draw from. So we have to learn in order to go from having the right position to building and leveraging power inside the state and outside it in movements. By these standards, I think that this project has been successful in advancing the agenda that it defined for itself. There has been significant progress on securing universal childcare, closing the immense budget gap that the city was facing, proposing an ambitious housing plan, and getting the city to be more responsive to residents. The Mandani administration is generating enthusiasm that government can actually work for working people, making our lives in the city better. That optimism and enthusiasm are not only accounts to the right wing, but also an antidote to the failure of the centrists. The right wing has grown because the centrists of the Democratic Party and those who used to exist in the Republican Party have failed to produce economic benefits for working class people. The disillusionment from those failures created fertile ground for the right wing to build its influence. But the Mandani administration is providing an effective counter to that. Yes, so it's about material needs of the people and improving the working people's lives and workers overall, right? That's the whole goal of having put somebody in power. They use the NYPD as an example, and I'm using the MTA as an example in my own situation, considering I worked for them for 6 years and I know how it operates. And so, in balancing not being overly curious or overly pragmatic, I think Zoran has leaned at times towards pragmatism. This is the one example of this in policing. I share the assessment that policing should have been the first order of business. He needs to continue to build more power before he's able to take this on. But I think it's a mistake to leave it aside completely. He could be making progress by articulating disagreements with how policing currently operates. Commissioner Tish, Jessica Tish is a very much build the upper case for the NYPD. The mayor should be doing the same in the opposite direction. Similarly, I think he could be sharper on the issue of Palestine. In the assembly and during the campaign, he was leading public sentiment, but since taking office, he is trailing behind it. Sometimes he comes out aggressively. For example, the video commemorating the Nakba was powerful, but on the other aspects, he has trailed behind, such as uplifting the right to protest events, promoting illegal land sales in the West Bank, but not utilizing his power to stop the events themselves. Exactly. So he has to keep championing, fighting for those values and morals that are very important for democratic socialists. Democratic socialism is predicated not only on good governance but on robust mass movements. Currently, the balance is skewed more toward governance and electoralism. I think Zoran could be more proactively agitating people towards movements and getting politically involved. He's in a position to say, here's what I've been able to accomplish through governance, but here's what I need you to do. Get involved in your community, in tenant associations, in your unions. This could be used to develop more socialist forces. One of the advantages of governance is that it gives you legitimacy and access, which can be used to engage with communities and with labor to encourage the emergence of more progressive and left leadership within them. I don't think it's an issue of endorsing candidates as much as actively engaging with communities and agitating at the grassroots to bring more pressure to bear on their respective leadership. So, encouraging people to get involved in the process, the political process, and recruiting all those fans of his to push for change overall within the system will help. Doing that requires a finer understanding of the different layers and sectors of the working class. His agenda is focused on material issues, but he also needs to proactively speak to the particularities in different parts of the working class. For example, Black communities, Dominican communities, Chinese communities, that engagement is about expanding trust, but it can also encourage more progressive and left leadership to emerge. So he has to build more community in those communities that are not as politically involved. Get them involved, the ones that have voted for him and support him, to get them more involved with it in the grassroots groundwork, right? The real key is the level of connection and groundness in movements. That's going to determine how to strike the right balance between pragmatism and purism, between the inside and the outside. These are functions that a left political party or political instrument will hold. But in the absence of one, we have to cobble things together. And we're committed to rigorous practice. We have an opportunity to break out of the rut the US left has been in or position ourselves to transform inside the empire. So the whole point is to transform the empire from within and from the outside using the inside outside strategy, right? You got to use the inside outside strategy and change the grassroots movement, change the political landscape, not go along with the forces that are instituting or refusing to change or pushing hard against those forces that are resistant to capitalism and to capitalists to force change in the whole system so workers can feel the material changes in their everyday lives, but also be part of that movement of change. That's the whole goal of the whole process, and that should be the goal of any changes you make, including at the MTA, including at the New York Police Department or the Fire Department of New York or any city agency. It should be a groundswell of building up power for individual and individual workers to become a part of a grassroots movement. So when change doesn't happen, it could be forced upon the masters and those that control and regulate society, especially capitalists, and those that own our society and are those forces that are pushing back and trying to keep some changes from happening. So in this instance, I feel like Zoran has caved to those interests to be able to roll out plans and to be able to show that he's causing change, right? For the sake of causing change, or make it seem as material change, but not a deep change that we need, right? The powers are entrenched in government, and we need to get those entrenched powers out, and also uh, cause change in the neighborhoods that have not experienced change. And that's when people will believe and keep voting for change in their communities. If we bring it to their shop, to their neighborhood, to their workplace, where they could be treated with love and respect wherever they are, then that's when change will occur for everyone. Thank you for listening to my video. Share, like, subscribe, and support the channel. Thank you so much. Hit the follow button, hit the share button. And it wasn't easy to make this video without feeling like I'm betraying my roots, but I have to speak the truth always, no matter if I like the politician or if that person came from uh, the theories and the ideas that I believe in. Well, I have to be true to who I am before I'm true to anyone, not even a politician. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Have a good day. Hit the like, subscribe button. My name is Celso Garcia. I didn't even introduce myself in the beginning. I was excited to talk about this. Thank you for your time. Have a good day. Peace, everyone. And I hope he tweaks things with input from his comrades.